This is a Geek Leader podcast, and I'm your host, John Rauda. This show is all about helping us grow as leaders, become better technologists, and improve our lives both at work and at home. I hope you enjoy the show and learn a lot. Hello, world, and welcome to a Geek Leader podcast. I'm your host, John Rauda. Today's sponsor is A2 Hosting. I've been using A2 Hosting solid state hosting solutions for our website at geekleader.com for many years now, and absolutely love their support, their service, and all the features that you get. You get access to cPanel. You get all of the things that you can imagine for a great WordPress experience, including their A2 optimized WordPress, which does extra security checks, extra lockdown. You can lock down your editor file so you can't edit anything inside there. You get alerts whenever there are file changes that are done. You can also do automatic updates, backups, and more with A2 Hosting. So highly recommend it. Go to geekleader.com/A2 to get more information and to sign up for their solid state turbocharged speed hosting today. Again, that's geekleader.com/A2. All right, Geek Leaders, I am honored to have Lucy Chow on the show today. And she is the author of a book called Changing the Game. Discover how esports and gaming are redefining business, careers, education, and the future. Now, she's an angel investor and advocate for women entrepreneurs and women in tech. And we're going to have a good conversation today about gaming, esports, and the advancement of our women in our community, which is going to be awesome. So, Lucy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me, John.
If you don't mind, just tell the audience a little bit about how you got to where you are today and what is it that you're doing in your career and kind of what life has been like.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's fabulous that I live and work in Dubai in the UAE. My family and I have been here for 16 years. And, what you might know about this country is that, they're always very cutting edge. Whether we've said that we're going to be the center for the metaverse. Just most recently, we said that I think maybe 8 months ago, we want to hire something like 50,000 coders, and it's a very future focused country. And so for myself, I come from a banking background, and then about 10 years ago, I started to become an angel investor, and it was a very specific entry. Essentially, I was asked, first of all, hey, there doesn't seem to be a lot of angel networks for women. So where all the angels are women. And also there doesn't seem to be a lot of funding for women founders, and specifically women in tech. And that's still, unfortunately, the case today in 2022. As you know, the portion of funding that goes to female entrepreneurs is very, very low. Anyway, so we put together the Women's Angel Investor Network to address both those things, to have more women feel comfortable being investors, right? They write a small ticket, and then once they get comfortable, they'll start writing more tickets, and then maybe that's my journey, right? And then now I'm like a general partner in different funds. I'm a limited partner in many other funds. That's how it starts. And then it was very important for us to make sure that we were supporting women in tech, meaning that most of the investments we made were in the tech space, and the team had to have at least one female founder.
So why do you think that there are less tech women founding companies and starting out companies? So what's the pressure behind that?
Okay, no. So let's correct one thing.
Okay.
It's not that there's not a lot of women starting the companies. There are actually. And so maybe just I don't want to spend too much time talking about my part of the world, but here 1 in 3 women are entrepreneurs. That's even a higher rate of percentage than in Silicon Valley. And so there was a misconception, there's just not enough female founders out there. That's not the case. Whenever we did a call, right, and we opened it up to applications, we were flooded. So we knew that wasn't the problem. The problem, and this could be a whole other podcast, John, separate to about the book, but really it's complex. There is really an unconscious bias on the side of the investors, because most funds are still managed by men. So when you ask anyone, whether they're male or female, doesn't matter their ethnicity, name some tech entrepreneurs, and you'll always hear Elon Musk, Bill Gates, right? You're not hearing about people that look like me, right? Or females. You're not hearing about the women. So that's a narrative we have to start changing. And then, because when I go to pitch, if I was a tech entrepreneur, I don't look like Bill Gates. I don't look like Elon Musk. And so there is really an unconscious bias in what does a tech entrepreneur look like? What should they sound like? Should they be a little bit more aggressive in their style? And so we also find that female entrepreneurs in general, when they're asking for a raise for their company, they tend to go lower than their male peers. So there's a lot of complexity as to why women are still not getting funded.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only female tech entrepreneur that pops in my head is just because I watched the documentary on her, and it's a terrible example.
Yes, I
Elizabeth
know.
Holmes.
Elizabeth. Okay, so and so someone said this came up in a panel discussion just the other day. So it's funny you're bringing her up. So someone said, women, when we go big, we go big. So when she she was being humorous, right? Obviously, so she's like, that was like a huge cheat, right? So even when, as a woman, when you go big, that was like major cheat. But no, it's unfortunate that there's that. But like someone said, like there's been many men that have done the same thing. Not many get a Netflix series, all about their escapades. So we need to make the narrative positive too. It's really important for the next generation. We talk a lot about getting girls into STEM. And this is why esports and gaming is also really important. We need to have positive role models. They need to have just role models, period.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting into esports, that's the one thing that's kind of like, from where I'm at in Charlotte, North Carolina. I teach part-time at Winthrop University. It's kind of taken, awesome. Taken off like crazy. And
it's great.
My college, Winthrop, we're never really nationally known for anything. We're kind of, low Division I in basketball, low Division I.
Okay.
We don't have a football team, but our esports has really taken off. And in the last few years, they've been in the top 10 nationally in esports. And I've been seeing all these posts and all this stuff coming out of there. And until lately, I kind of thought it was just like what is this? But now kids are getting scholarships. It's advancing the world in so many different ways. And, my kids are all about it. They're all excited about it. And it's a great way for, my 8-year-old to get into programming, because he's so excited and interesting in what's going on.
John, you're freezing on me on this side.
All right. Let's try something real quick.
Okay.
Anything? All right. Any better?
Okay. Now you're fine. Yes. Okay. Please start that about your last sentence question.
Yeah. Okay. So esports is kind of really taken off where I'm at in Charlotte, North Carolina. I teach part-time at Winthrop University, and being here at Winthrop, we have...
You're frozen. Yeah, should I? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no. I wonder if I should turn off my video too.
All right, let me try.
Let me just stop my video.
Okay, can you hear me now? Hello? anything? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. I'm going to start that again and see how it
Okay.
goes. I don't know what is
Okay.
going on with my internet here. All
It
right.
might be mine. I just might be a Halloween thing.
Maybe, maybe.
Lots of people on.
All the ring cameras going off, I imagine.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
right.
All right. Here we go. All right, so esports has really taken off where I'm at. I teach part-time at Winthrop University, and our college has never really been known for a whole bunch of anything. We're a low Division I in basketball, no football team, but our esports has really taken off, and now we're in the top 10 regularly in esports when you see the rankings. And it's one of the things that my kids have gotten excited about. And it seems to be a great way to get people that may be a little nervous of getting involved in tech into tech. My son is super excited about programming because of esports and things like that. What is your take on what's going on, and where does this come
Yeah.
from?
No, I love it. I love it. And this is part of the motivation for why the book exists. Because my son was the same, right? He was very involved in gaming. And so I wanted to understand it more. And I was building out an esports company. Update me on what was going on. And obviously he had a lot of great information. And I'm sitting in these conferences learning so much because there's international speakers from all over. Yeah. And finding out like that there's like amazing scholarships, right? For people that are great gamers in university, that there's a bar association for esports lawyers, for instance. And so then I was like, okay, I think someone needs to kind of write a book about this. And the book should be oriented to anyone, because I really do feel that in this space, it's really tied into the future of work also. So I'll come back to that and STEM and so forth. But knowing it's tied to the future of work and using myself as an example, wearing many different hats like we all do, as an investor, as a parent, as someone that sits on a school board, as so passionate about education, I was like, there's a big stigma around this industry, but there's so many layers to it, and that people, no matter what hat they wear, really need to understand this a bit better. They need to understand this space. And this is the whole point of the book. So I'm not the subject matter expert, but I found and curated the book with 38 subject matter experts from around the world. And it's pretty awesome. So there's two there's two things, there's two takeaways from the book. One is the actual chapters, so the information you glean from that. The other is the actual individuals that have written the chapters. And the whole point is to show people that you can have like a real diversity of backgrounds, any background, and you can find gainful employment, or you will find some sort of relevance to you in the gaming and esports space, even if you never thought you would have any interest in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to get into what you're talking about when this is the future of work.
Yeah.
Because I
So
want to
you
know more about that.
sure. So you talked about, your son getting really
Mhm.
excited. And so there's a whole section in the book about education and the use of gaming. There's also it's a fact that people that watch esports tend to be on they tend to be on the more intelligent plane, which is like right, that's like sweet words to parents, right? And so when we talk about the relevance to the future of work, this generation, the digital natives, already get it, right? We're also talking about things like the metaverse, Web3. Bear with me while I talk about the metaverse quickly. So the four largest metaverses in the world, right? Sandbox, Decentraland, Fortnite, Roblox. Two of those are games. So the kids are already, right? They're already in those spaces. They're already utilizing those spaces. And again, going forward, this is going to be, it's already part and parcel of what they do. And so what I'm finding is, if you have a passion for gaming, if you at least understand it, you can go and you can do anything with that knowledge. You can become a consultant. So one of the individuals in the book, he works for Frost and Sullivan, a large global consultancy, and he is a gamer. That's, he'll say, I feel like I'm so old, but he's a gamer. And what he does is he advises governments like that of the Saudi government or the UAE government on how to integrate gaming and esports into their national agenda. So that's just one example. I could give you all the examples of all the different people that have written in this book.
Yeah. So I'm very curious and futuristic and where things are going. And, I think, I love my Oculus. I like to play in the games and seeing everything around there. And you mentioned Roblox.
Yes.
All my kids love Roblox. And, it's just one of those things that they've grown up with, that environment of virtual. And when I was a kid, it was always exciting to have a lemonade stand and get into entrepreneurship that way. My son figured out that he could go and buy chocolate and cookies in Roblox for a certain amount of Robux, and then turn around and he built his own little shop and was selling them and making more Robux for what he was paying for them. So he was learning kind of this economic background of, I can purchase for this and sell for this and make this much at 8, in Roblox.
I love it. But so you've just, you've helped me sell my book there, John, because that's exactly one of the tools, right, that kids get out of this. They're not just like, in a dark room, not doing anything. They are learning second languages, because if you're playing with other kids from other countries and they don't speak English, the commands and everything, you start learning second languages. And it's a much funner way to learn a second language than sitting in a classroom. The skills and it was very important to me that I had psychologists that wrote also in this book, because again, we hear about the negatives, and of course, anything to an extreme is not good, but the psychologists will tell you that the eye-hand coordination, one of the things I love is in simulation games, you're able to fail, and you fail over and over again in the safety of a game. And that's why pilots, astronauts, doctors, they all use games. That we don't call them games, but they're simulation games. And it's fabulous that you're able to fail in safe environments, and that's also necessary for our learning, right? That develops resilience and confidence. There's I was so excited during COVID in June 2020 when the FDA approved the first game for ADHD. That's pretty powerful, right? Rather than pumping your kid full of pills, like that, they approved a video game for treating, attention deficit disorder. It's pretty amazing. No, I mean, there's many things like that. There's like, this is what I want. I want people to just pick up the book. And I guarantee if you read even just a few chapters, there's gonna be an okay, I get it now. I get it. I understand why she felt it was important to put this out there. And I actually now understand there's so much more about this industry and sector that I wrote off, that I didn't have any idea was going on.
Yeah, so I'm a big advocate for gaming, and I think it's really important for kids to learn how to play games of all different types. I want my kids to play the old classic games that I grew up on. I even went and bought all the classic systems to teach them the history of gaming.
Yes.
I went through I got an Atari, a Nintendo, a Sega, went through the whole thing. But also, playing the new stuff too, getting familiar and comfortable with technology, getting familiar and comfortable with what happens when it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. How do I troubleshoot this? How do I figure this out? And
that's huge.
There's so many skills that come out of just setting up the game yourself, whether it being a console game or an iPad game, and going through the steps of okay, so how do I configure this the way I want, especially with these metaverses like Roblox or
Yes.
Minecraft or something like that,
Oh, no,
where
no,
you
those are
build your
powerful.
world.
Well, like, and so Minecraft, right? You
Hmm.
need a lot of math to get Minecraft, and you see the kids doing it so quickly, right? And
Hmm.
then there's a reason why the Architectural Institute of Chicago uses it to teach, right? I mean, it is and as a result, my son developed an interest in architecture through his years of building, world building in Minecraft. And that's the same with what's going on with kids in Roblox. I also want to mention and emphasize that there are so many games and so many genres of games. And yes, the first person shooter games are fascinating and heart pumping. That's one genre. There is a whole genre called ambient games, right? Where you can go forest bathing. For instance, one of the authors, she's a Canadian and she's a director by trade. And I think her game is still called Oak VR. But when she was a little girl, obviously her dad took her out collecting leaves and picking things up in the forest. And we're now having a generation where they're not going out as much. And COVID
Hmm.
obviously didn't help that. So she developed a game where that's what you do in the game. You're actually going out, you're getting things, and then every time you level up to a certain level, a real oak tree is planted in real life.
Oh, wow.
So, oh no, I mean, so there's that. There's this whole genre of games for good. So we want our kids to be thinking, about privilege and helping others, and giving back and so forth. There's a whole genre of games for good where you can fundraise, and it's all about solving society's biggest issues, whether it's climate, gender imbalance, and there's games for everything.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I love it when the game, in the virtual world reaches into the real physical world. Uh,
Yeah, and they're learning, right?
mhm.
They're learning values. They're learning values that you and I are teaching, our kids. And why wouldn't a parent want that, right? It's reinforcing the values.
Right.
Yeah,
So
it's
what do you
just
say to
another way.
parents that say, "Oh, they're keep playing games. I want them to, stop playing so many games." What do you say to parents like that? And where is the line of moderation? Because we always talk
Happened
about how
when
things are good in moderation.
my so I'm gonna answer that in a long way.
Hmm.
My aha moment was like, okay, so say your kid is really into ballet or at a very high level, basketball or hockey, you would be out there 5 a.m., taking them to practice, wouldn't you? And I'd be like,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And then they're like, okay, so your kid's into gaming. Why wouldn't you support him and her the same way? And I was like, oh, yeah, right. So when an athlete, exercises a lot, we don't shame them for it,
Right.
right? And so this is a question that's often asked: what is the right amount of time? You will know, your child will know if they are, if they are going to be that 1%, right? It's like the Olympics. I also have a chapter in here is, is gaming, is esports a sport? Um, and so it will eventually get there. It's going to be, it's already in the Asian Games as a demonstration game and so forth. Um, but you'll know if they're at a very elite level, and you'll know, what they're going to need, everything that other athletes need, right? They're going to need nutritionists. They're going to need they're going to need sponsors. There's going to be someone that's going to scout them, and they need actually to be very physically fit, and there's a whole, there's physios and so forth that help gamers at a very elite level, and it's like any other
Mhm.
sport.
No, I agree 100%. I think I think you'd have to think about, esports just like you would regular sports, with moderation and training and, and practice, but also like you don't want, although I do want all my kids play sports regularly and they do martial arts regularly, and I want them to
Awesome.
continue that, but I don't want that to be
Right.
the only thing they do. They've got to have a variety because I love when they can take something they learn on a video game and transpose it to a sport that they're playing or something they learn
Absolutely.
on the
So this,
field from the coach and take it back.
no, but I love what you're saying because it's not mutually exclusive. Just because your kid is
Right.
into esports and gaming does not mean they can't be an elite athlete, like in a sport. And there are actual Olympic athletes that are also elite esport
Hmm.
gamers. The
There
two
are.
are not mutually exclusive. It actually is not mutually exclusive. And it's just, it's just, yeah, we want our kids to be exposed to many different things. And it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two of my favorite fighters are also like really popular esports people as well, like when it comes to the UFC. So Max Holloway
All right.
is, one of the top 15 Fortnite players in the world,
See,
but he's also a top 10 UFC fighter. So yeah, they
I
definitely
love it.
transpose, and you can be good in both. And I think that's one of the things that parents need to realize, that, kids are actually learning in those environments and can take some of the things that they learn out into other areas as well, and vice versa.
Yeah, I agree. No, absolutely agree. And you think, oh, what and going, this is going to take us back to the future of work. Okay, so you're a paying job when you're an adult. If But again, there's people in this book and outside of this book, because they know the world of gaming and understand it, have created whole companies around it, right? So
Hmm.
people that I mentioned that you need like the nutrition. So there's someone that, yeah, his whole company is fitness tools for gamers, nutrition supplements for gamers. There's someone here, Bradford Carlton, and he does a podcast, and he interviews only gamepreneurs, so entrepreneurs that are in that cater to the gaming esports space, and there's many. So the gamepreneur is his podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have
Yeah,
to check that one out for sure because I'm interested.
yeah, yeah, and I love the fact that Jeannie Doi, she's a lawyer, and she realized that so what her law firm specializes in immigration, but helping esports players immigrate to the United States.
Oh.
And she does it all through Discord and WhatsApp. Like, you can imagine the paperwork, right? But
Hmm.
she realized that, yeah, if you're like in esports and stuff, you're not going to want to get an email with a 100-page document. She needed to meet them where they communicated. And it was as simple as that, like understanding that space, understanding where where are these people hanging out, and how do they prefer to do business.
So what's the future of esports and the metaverse and gaming and all this, and where does it all go?
Yeah, no, it's huge. I don't know if you believe, I don't know if I believe. McKinsey just recently came out with a study saying that it might have been as soon as 2026 or 2030, that we would be spending an hour a day, all of us, hour a day in the metaverse. I could be a little bit off on my numbers on that. And I think that might be true
Hmm.
for a certain generation, perhaps, or it all has to do with how quickly will there be utility. So if we talk about the metaverse, how quickly can we ensure that there's utility, because people won't go on there, right? um and unless they find utility. However, with gaming and esports, John, the statistics. the viewership and the amount of money that's coming in esports, right? Greater than movie box office, music, and regular sports. It's bigger than all three of those industries combined. So just that statistic alone makes you, if you're a business person or you should be like really looking and trying to understand, oh, wow, okay, there's got to be something here. If this industry is so big,
Yeah, and we're starting to
it's only
see.
getting bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting to see companies, other companies that are, traditional like brick and mortar or
Sure,
restaurants kind of venturing into that. And,
sure.
one example that we talked about with Jamin on my one of my last recent episodes was I was playing Oculus Rift, and I went there and I saw a free game that came out. This is probably over a year ago now, from KFC. It was a KFC game. And it was an escape room, just a little short game, but it was their first venture into kind of this virtual gaming where you kind of played around, where you're in a restaurant and you had to do these tasks and things like that. But it was a way to market their brand and get them out there because they knew that's where the audience was going.
No, I love it. I love there's quite a few chapters in the book that talks about non-endemic brands coming into this world, and they need to. There are haters that are like, really, why would Gucci or Benefits, which is a cosmetics brand, why would they want to do this? And are they just, did they get snowed over by like a great advertising company? No, they realize that they want to reach a new demographic. And, some of these big clothing brands, as an example, have been thought of as being like catering to an older demographic. But because now they've started like, advertise your KFC example, because, I mean, you just mentioned it. So it resonated. It stayed with you.
Yeah.
And so many brands are looking, and there's people again in the book, that's all they specialize in. They specialize in helping traditional brands understand how they should enter this in terms of advertising, PR, marketing, and how it.
All right. So I think that's awesome. And you're right. It does resonate with you when you see a brand that's kind of ventured into that metaverse and things like that. How can people learn more about gaming in the future? And maybe if we have some female entrepreneurs out there that are listening to the show, how can they connect with you online?
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So let's talk about the connection. I am on LinkedIn. So you can find me, Lucy Chow. I probably, if you did that search, I'll be the first to come up in LinkedIn. My Instagram is Lucy Chow, ChowDXB. And in terms of female entrepreneurs, yeah, please reach out to me, because there's probably maybe there's female entrepreneurs developing games. And there's definitely different funds that I'm part of that I could put them in touch with, because I think it's really important to have more women creators. I'm also an ambassador for a fabulous organization based out of the UK called Women in Games. So I would ask anyone that is female interested in the space to go onto their website, and they put out a lot of, not only is the community a really good one to belong to, they're a nonprofit, but they also have a lot of engagement events. So it would be a fabulous community to join.
Awesome. And I'll link all those up in the show notes too at geekleader.com so people can click on them there. And Lucy, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you, John.
If you enjoyed that episode, please leave a rating and review in Apple Podcasts. I'd greatly appreciate that. And also, don't forget to check out merch. We have some t-shirts that I've designed that are on at geekleader.com. You can click on the merchandise section there and check that out. And also, don't forget about the books from our guests. So if you like this guest and other guests that have written books, please go ahead and check that out at geekleader.com. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure they would too.